Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome back to I Hate Rock Music. And today I want to talk about a really fascinating band from 1970 called QUATERMASS. And it was released on Harvest Records. And one thing that makes it so unusual, besides its stunning cover with pterodactyls flying around a skyscraper, but the record is a power trio with keyboards instead of guitar. And I say that very definitely because there was a lot of keyboard-led bands around that time in the UK. Atomic Rooster, of course, but they had a guitar player. And then the most noticeable ones, the group Nice, and then Keith Emerson's evolution from Nice into Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So Emerson, Lake and Palmer are probably the most noted of the three-piece keyboard-led groups. And they certainly had some moments of what could be called a power trio with keyboards. But Quatermass are really very specific. And the fact is they really pull it off, being an actual power trio with Hammond organ and other keyboards as the focus of the group. And then they also are amazing as a trio because of who is in the band. So we have Mick Underwood on drums, who's really does a great job playing with Quatermass, and he had previous experience for years in the UK and playing with members of Deep Purple when they were in Episode 6, and he was actually the drummer for Peter Frampton's original pop band, The Herd. But he's an exceptional drummer. He really drives this material. Then Pete Robinson on keyboards, and he's a real powerhouse. And he does a lot of great keyboard work on this album, and there's a lot of really complicated arrangements and all kinds of great ideas. And then John Gustafson on bass, who is not only a great bass player, but a really cool vocalist. And Pete Robinson would move on to a band called Sun Treader. I'm going to do a separate video on them. And then John Gustafson, of course, has this very distinct voice, and he moved on to the band Hard Stuff with John Cann from Atomic Rooster. And I've already done a video on them, so feel free to check that out. But wonderful vocalist, a great bass player, and after Hard Stuff, he moved on to Roxy Music. But the Quatermass record, the more I've listened to it over the years, the more impressive it gets. Not only is Pete Robinson's keyboard work really great, but just the fact that they're so powerful with just a three-piece band and keyboards. And there's some great string arrangements on there as well on a couple of tunes. It's really great to hear on one piece of music. There's 31-piece string section on it, and very impressive. So the whole record still really stands up really well, even though it came out in 1970 on Harvest. And the band existed from 1969 to 1971. And there's not only the album, but there were three singles. In Europe, there was a picture sleeve single for Black Sheep of the Family, back with Good Lord Cross. And Black Sheep of the Family is kind of a hit for them. Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow almost ended up doing a version of the song. And their second single in 1971 was One Blind Mice, back with Punting. And those two tracks are now on the reissue on CD of the Quatermass album. So it's great to have them all together because both those non-LP songs are really exceptional and just show once again what a stunning trio they were. And those two non-LP songs recorded in 1971 are really exceptional. And then they followed up in the end with one last single in 1971, Gemini, which is on the album. And then the B-side, once again, was Black Sheep of the Family, because it's such a great song. I'm not surprised they would release it twice and maybe even try and get a hit single out of it. But really incredible band. As I mentioned, when I first heard them, I got the album in cutouts, like so many other records. Probably paid $1 for it. Cover was so cool. I had no idea what lurked within. And I wasn't a big keyboards fan back then. I was definitely into big guitars. And so listening to it now, I see all the more how impressive it is. As I mentioned, the keyboard work is stunning. Obviously, he's classically and jazz trained, and it really shows, and particularly in the complicated songs and all the great ideas. Because songs like Black Sheep of the Family are more straight ahead, but there's a lot of tunes on the record that really have great evolutions and sprawling arrangements that show off all kinds of surprises. And that's what I really like about a lot of records from the 70s. You know, you're listening to it and you hear kind of a basic rock song, and then you hear these incredible elaborations and surprises. So I really like the surprises, the choices that are made, and the Quatermass album is full of great choices of how to evolve the material. So Quatermass, great stuff. Once again, if you haven't heard it, I've got the links below. And in these days, we're really fortunate because over the last 10 years or so, some great Quatermass live videos have appeared. So it's really, really pretty awesome, particularly for someone like me, you know, who bought the album in 1971 or 72. I've heard him all these years, and now to actually get to see a live performance by him and answer that question about how they came across live is wonderful. So Quatermass definitely belonged on Harvest Records, home of early Pink Floyd for one band, but they could have easily ended up on Vertigo as well. And this kind of progressive rock is really impressive to me. Instead of taking the mystical route, a la Yes or Genesis, when they talk about pixies and fairies and the like. I really love those bands as well, but to see a band like this that just absorbs its jazz and classical influences and comes up with a new version of rock is all the more impressive to me. So anyway, Quatermass, yowza. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.